That anime you've always been meaning to watch has just vanished into thin air. That's the kind of statement that makes most fans stop dead in their tracks, right? Well, guess what? It actually happened, and it's not just any show we're talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the curious and shocking case of how one of the most underrated shonen series around, the beloved Noragami, has disappeared from major streaming platforms without warning. Today, we're going to uncover the entire story, including why this happened, how it could affect other hidden gems, and what this means for fans who can't get enough of supernatural tales packed with action, heart, and a humorous twist. Buckle up, because we're diving deep into a topic that reveals more than just the fate of a single god without a shrine. So, what exactly is going on here, and why does it matter? Essentially, this problem is bigger than it looks. We're going to peel back the layers, analyzing how streaming rights change hands, why shows like Noragami might vanish overnight, and what it implies for mid-tier anime trying to find a footing in a market dominated by juggernauts like Naruto and Demon Slayer. We'll also tackle the pressing question: if a show is gone from the biggest platforms, is it gone forever? Stay tuned, because by the end of this incredibly detailed breakdown, you'll know everything there is to know about this unsettling phenomenon, and you might be inspired to keep your eyes peeled for other hidden series that are at risk of disappearing. In this episode, we'll look at the forces that shape the current anime industry. Neither streaming providers nor the studios themselves are left unscathed by the push and pull of show licensing. We'll also consider how this quiet removal has impacted the passionate fanbase that has kept Noragami on the radar for years. And finally, if it could happen to Noragami, are we just one misstep away from seeing lesser-known favorites vanish just as quietly? Let's find out. Picture this: you've spent hours scouring your favorite streaming platform, searching for something fresh to binge. You stumble upon an intriguing thumbnail featuring a confident-looking spirit in a tracksuit, a bright-eyed teenager, and a mysterious weapon that, surprise, happens to be a spirit named Yukine. Welcome to the magical world of Noragami. This anime whipped up an electric blend of mythology, humor, and heartfelt relationships that took many watchers by surprise. Yato, the wandering god who can't seem to build a proper shrine, enchants viewers with his relentlessly optimistic approach to a life saturated by the precarious line between the human realm and the divine. In many ways, it's a testament to how a show doesn't need an extremely high budget or a massive hype train from the get-go to leave a mark. But, and there's always a but, while Noragami charted a unique course and earned a loyal following, it never fully broke into the mainstream, the way some other high-octane, big-budget productions did. Perhaps that's partly why it's now gone. One minute it was sitting comfortably on Crunchyroll, Netflix, Funimation, and Hulu, complete with both subbed and dubbed options for whichever flavor you prefer. The next minute, it vanished, leaving fans, and potential new viewers, out in the cold. It's the kind of abrupt move that leaves you double-checking your watch list, convinced you must have typed something incorrectly. Spoiler alert, you didn't. The show was legitimately pulled, and no official heads-up or explanation was provided. Now, you might be wondering, wait, can I still buy it elsewhere? Sure, you can purchase digital or physical copies if you can find them. But this isn't a small question of personal convenience here. The real issue lies in who gets left behind when a series goes from widely available via subscription to virtually inaccessible to the average viewer. Perhaps you've heard that the anime it's based on has an equally compelling manga. And sure, that's still around. But the dynamic synergy of the voice work, music, and visuals in the anime is a big part of the charm. Telling dedicated fans that they need to drop everything and shell out money for a series that was previously included with a streaming plan can feel like a betrayal of trust. The tricky part here is that Noragami was, and still is, extremely beloved for multiple reasons. For one, the show took a fresh approach to the concept of gods and spirits. Even that premise alone was enough to attract fans looking for fantasy with a modern twist. The fundamental dynamic among Yato, Yukine, and Hiyori proved to be an irresistible draw for many viewers. In a shonen landscape often dominated by brash protagonists and epic tournaments, Noragami showcased comedic timing, slices of day-to-day struggle, and poignant emotional arcs that turned these three characters into a family that fans wholeheartedly rooted for. Another hallmark, the show's big fights seamlessly wove together supernatural intricacies with personal conflict, to craft a story that resonates beyond the end credits. But maybe the real magic lay in the show's ability to surprise you. One moment, you're laughing at Yato's comedic desperation as he scribbles his phone number across random surfaces in a bid to pick up odd jobs for a measly 5 yen. The next, you're on the edge of your seat as a spiritual crisis threatens to tear the group apart. Instead of bumping from one big set piece to another, Noragami was methodical about its pacing, allowing friendships to deepen, tensions to brew, and mysteries to unravel in a way that kept each episode's energy fluid. And here's a question for you. If a fan-favorite series that still holds so much potential for exploration can disappear this quietly, what else could? That's the crux of the problem. Anime fans have grown accustomed to near-infinite libraries on massive platforms. Many of us can scroll through and discover older or lesser-known gems. We look forward to curated lists, new recommendations, or simply that spontaneous moment of, hey, I'll check this out. But with shows like Noragami vanishing, it sends a chilling message that streaming reliability is not set in stone, especially not for titles without a stratospheric hype factor. If you focus only on the big hits, you'll miss out on the rest, no matter how good they are. To understand how we got here, you need to realize that licensing rights are a labyrinth of contracts. Different regions, different platforms, different clauses, and constantly shifting negotiations can make or break a show's visibility. If a deal runs out or doesn't get renewed, the series simply disappears. Sometimes it resurfaces on a rival platform. Other times, it stays in limbo for months or even years. This is especially problematic for shows that never catapulted into mega franchise territory. Without the massive guarantee of large numbers of fans banging on the door, the impetus to keep paying for or renegotiating the rights might not seem worth it from a purely business standpoint. Enter the Noragami conundrum. From a creative standpoint, there's little doubt about the series' quality. Critics and fans alike celebrated many aspects, from Yato's comedic unpredictability to the richly layered world-building that seamlessly merged ancient deities with modern dilemmas. But from the vantage point of streaming services, maybe Noragami didn't produce the same explosive results as the top-tier household names. And so, quietly, it was allowed to slip away into that dreaded no longer available category. This isn't just inconvenient for watchers, it's also a blow to content creators, since the show loses valuable exposure. It's akin to setting up an art exhibit that no one can attend. The entire point of these streaming partnerships is to allow a series to keep a foothold in the public's mind. Without that constant presence, even the most passionate fans find it harder to introduce the series to new viewers. Word-of-mouth hype might drag on for a bit, but casual watchers are less likely to go out of their way to invest in a physical collection if they can't first sample it. Now, let's take a closer look at Noragami itself. First legalized as a manga by Adachi Toka, the story focuses on Yato, who dreams of earning enough to build his own shrine and reach the same illustrious tiers as the major gods. He's accompanied by Hiyori, a human who unexpectedly gets snared in the spirit realm after a near-death experience that basically leaves her with a tail and the ability to slip out of her own body. Meanwhile, Yukine is the troubled regalia, a spirit weapon that Yato wields in combat. The friction between these three forms the emotional backbone of the series. Hiyori's unwavering loyalty, Yukine's teenage angst, and Yato's comedic dramatic attempts to prove his worth all create an unmistakably unique dynamic. Additionally, the world building stands out. It's not every shonen that merges contemporary urban life with mythological intensity. Sure, we might see big battles unfold, but we also witness day-to-day comedic struggles as Yato humiliatingly tries to carve out a name for himself. The interplay of comedic relief and serious confrontation makes Noragami feel genuinely human, despite its emphasis on gods and spirits. But guess what? All that nuance and complexity doesn't matter to streaming algorithms that revolve around metrics. If you're not rating in the top tier, or if a licensing negotiation falls through, shows are at risk of being cut loose. And that is precisely the canary in the coal mine scenario we may face time and again. It's vital to note that Noragami had 2 seasons. The first introduced us to the comedic, high-energy dynamic among the main trio, while the second, often considered even better, plunged deeper into the series' emotional weight, exploring topics like regret, betrayal, and redemption in a far more intense manner. Many fans were left clamoring for a third season. Even though it hasn't been announced in any official capacity, the removal from streaming makes the possibility feel farther away than ever. If a show is out of sight, it's often out of mind. But let's not lose ourselves in infinite gloom. One of the big points we want to explore today is how fans can push back. If there's an outcry, especially from global audiences, streaming platforms sometimes scramble to re-secure the rights. We saw that happen with other series that were briefly removed, only to be resurrected by fan demand. The question is whether Noragami fans can muster that kind of campaign. Meanwhile, new watchers, the very ones who could have bumped up the show's popularity, remain locked out. Noragami isn't just a show, it's a whole vibe, one enthusiastic viewer once said. And that vibe deserves a broader platform. If you're as shocked by this turn of events as I am, show your support. Tap that like button so more anime lovers can stay informed. A short and sweet gesture can amplify awareness. Sometimes, it's that collective outcry that nudges the powers that be into realizing that yes, people do care about mid-tier series. The disappearance of Noragami also underscores the fragile status of titles that aren't mega hits. We talk about the streaming revolution as though it's an unending buffet. However, it can become quite a restricted menu if your tastes stray from the safest, most proven bestsellers. If you love variety in your anime consumption, this type of vanishing act sets a concerning precedent. Moreover, it's not just about streaming. Some fans worry that physical copies could grow rarer and more expensive. That's not a trivial concern, because in many cases, physical media acts as an archival safety net. Sometimes, it's the only way to preserve a series long after the licensing deals have ended. But what exactly made Noragami so extraordinary? One reason is how deftly it balances its comedic arcs with moments of genuine existential angst. We have Yato, an age-old deity, grappling with the modern world's diminishing reverence for gods. On top of that, the show examines what it means to be human, or something close to human, in Hiyori's case, when you're saddled with an identity crisis you never asked for. Meanwhile, the notion of a regalia that can be corrupted by negative emotions is intriguingly symbolic, shining a light on how we're all susceptible to darkness if left unchecked. Another aspect is the understated but powerful commentary on relationships. The friction between Yato and Yukine reveals larger truths about trust, mentorship, and the fragility of alliances. Then we have the comedic banter on top, which diffuses tension even during intense showdowns. Watching Yato beg for a 5 yen job might seem like a trivial gag, but it also hints at a deeper theme. We all want our existence validated, whether we're a teenage boy, a borderline spirit, or a centuries-old deity. The show's sincerity in exploring these matters is one of the main reasons fans keep returning for more, even long after the final episode of Season 2. But does that matter to the gatekeepers of the anime streaming world? That remains the million-dollar question. The industry's licensing environment is complicated. Sometimes fans blame the platform for letting a show go, but there may be contract disputes behind the scenes that hamper negotiations. Or maybe the show's owners hold out for better terms, hoping to sign a more lucrative deal. The bottom line is that the viewers, the people who find respite and joy in these imaginative universes, are often left in the dark. Without an official word, people are forced to speculate, and speculation doesn't help get the show back online. Let's place Noragami in the context of other mid-level anime that have carved out a place in viewers' hearts, but haven't soared into the highest echelons of mainstream popularity. Series like Bakano, Durarara, or lesser-known titles that quietly excel have faced similar battles over stream availability in the past. That's not to say that mainstream juggernauts never have licensing issues. They do, but those get resolved more quickly, often because they're considered marquee properties that drive subscription numbers. Noragami and its peers, on the other hand, may lack that clout, so the platforms can cut them more easily. This discrepancy leads us to a broader message about the direction of the anime industry. For years, fans have rejoiced over the arrival of massive streaming libraries, especially outside Japan, because it opens the door to a diverse tapestry of storytelling. People from across the globe can discover hidden gems they would have never encountered otherwise. But if the big players in the streaming game continue to prune their anime catalogs based on cold metrics, many one-of-a-kind experiences might vanish from the public eye. That's why, if you're invested in the genre, and especially if you love lesser-known works that don't always get a spotlight, it's crucial to stay watchful. Advocate for your favorites. Encourage others to watch them while they're available. If your friends are the type to casually say, "Oh, I'll get around to it eventually," maybe give them a gentle nudge, because, as we can see, eventually might be too late. And if you appreciate deep dives like this one into the complicated world of streaming rights and overlooked series, consider subscribing to this channel so you never miss out on the real story behind your favorite shows. Let's pivot back to Noragami specifically one more time. The show's departure from global streaming platforms doesn't have to be its final bow. There's always the chance it gets revived digitally, especially if there is renewed interest, or if fans clamor loudly and persistently enough. We've seen it happen with other titles before. Additionally, it's still possible to buy or rent the series in various digital storefronts, or track down DVDs and Blu-rays. However, that is less convenient and, more importantly, it discourages spontaneous discovery. If you're already a fan, maybe that's no challenge. But how many potential new fans are now locked out from that sense of accidental discovery that has turned so many curious watchers into brand new devotees of a show? Think about that from a creative standpoint. If you're a creator or a studio behind a mid-range IP, you rely on word of mouth and discoverability to get your title off the ground. You'd probably hope that your series remains easily available so it can keep accruing fans over time. When an older or lesser-known anime suddenly gains traction, it often sees a revival in popularity, which could lead to additional seasons or spin-offs. By taking Noragami down, the powers that be have effectively dampened that possibility. A particular irony in all of this is that Noragami has an undeniable universal appeal. Shonen typically targets a certain demographic, yet Noragami garners admiration from viewers of all ages. The emotional layers transcend your typical magical battles. Hiyori's struggles to reconcile her human life with a newly acquired spiritual perspective strike a chord with anyone who has ever felt different or out of place. Yukine's moral dilemmas encapsulate the confusion of youth, while Yato himself is that jester-turned-hero figure who conceals complicated layers behind a goofy grin. Everyone sees a little bit of themselves in these characters, and that's a big part of the reason fans remain steadfast, even now. We can't overlook the luscious animation and vibrant use of color. Studio Bones, known for other hits, brought Noragami to life with a distinguished visual approach that emphasized the line between the mortal and spirit realms. Scenes shift effortlessly from comedic bright visuals to haunting depictions of phantoms and gods, showcasing the show's broad emotional and thematic palette. The soundtrack also stands out, weaving modern instrumentation with ethereal notes that capture that intangible feeling of living at the threshold between two worlds. But perhaps the biggest heartbreak is the lingering question of what might have been. The original manga continues to spin new narratives, so why not the anime? If the second season's heightened emotional arcs indicated anything, it's that the source material is rich enough to sustain multiple more arcs. Fans have dreamed of seeing certain storylines adapted, more insight into Yato's dark past, a deeper look at Hiyori's evolving perspective, or revelations about other gods that lurk in the background. The blueprint for greatness is there, but for now, at least, the development is in limbo. So, what do we take from all this? First, it's a wake-up call. Just because a show isn't dominating the top spots doesn't mean it doesn't deserve to exist or remain accessible. Second, it highlights the ephemeral nature of digital libraries. You don't own what you see on a streaming service. You lease it, so to speak, at the provider's discretion. Third, it presents an opportunity for fans to channel their passion into activism. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, as they say. If enough people mention it, tweet it, create content about it, and request it, Noragami might just come roaring back. At the end of the day, Noragami isn't merely a supernatural action comedy that you watch and forget. It's a heartfelt exploration of identity, family, and the lengths we go to hold on to our dreams. It champions themes of loyalty even when fate seems stacked against you. It reminds us that no one, not even a small-time god, is truly insignificant. That's the beauty that captivated fans worldwide, from the earliest episodes to the climactic showdowns of the second season. Now, we face a moment when that beauty is hidden away, replaced by the dreaded no longer available message. Will that be the final word on Noragami? Only time, and perhaps some robust campaigning from its supporters, will tell. The question lingering on everyone's minds is, where do we go from here? This scenario sets a precedent for countless other hidden gems, many of which may not have the same vocal fan communities ready to leap to their defense. On the flip side, the industry could adapt to protect a variety of shows, recognizing that having a diverse catalog is ultimately beneficial. After all, anime streams aren't just about the biggest hits anymore. It's about capturing that eclectic audience that craves both the mainstream favorites and the quirky, under-the-radar secrets. We'll just have to hope that message eventually gets through to the decision makers. But as we wrap up this roller coaster exploration, there's one final parting notion. Never underestimate the power of dedicated fans. Yes, the system might be labyrinthine. Yes, big businesses can be slow to react. But anime's global rise didn't happen overnight. It happened because fans championed the shows they love, fought for legal releases, and created a thriving fandom that spans every continent. If Noragami has taught us anything, it's that every god, no matter how modest, can find a following. And every show, no matter how niche, can leave an indelible stamp on those who give it a chance. That's it for today's deep dive. Keep the conversation alive. Tell others about Noragami and its predicament. If you found this story eye-opening and want more in-depth explorations in the future, drop a comment and let your voice be heard. In the end, sometimes the smallest rallying cry can echo into something much bigger. One stream disappears, but countless new possibilities remain. Let's keep pushing for a future where worthy anime, no matter how understated, get the ongoing spotlight they merit.